I mean, the whole screen was upside down. And she said, oh, I think I just need to do extend the screen. And I said, well, you need to monitor it. So then it's that.
Oh, so somebody got it right.
For this? Oh, I got mine. You can have it. I got mine. Thank you. That's not Doug.
Oh, he gets the ones really small.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome. Is there anybody wishing to address? Nope. May I have an approval of the minutes from April 5th, 2017?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. May I please have an approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. And reports from the president.
President Tolke, members of the board, Jim Jacobson, Vice President of Academics. It's my pleasure to be here today. I want to start by recognizing the CTE Academy students and teachers, the work that you have on display in the lobby. As a former industrial arts teacher, it got my attention right away. That walnut hutch is incredible. So I just wanted to recognize what goes on at the CT Academy, some incredible things and opportunities for our students. It's also my pleasure to introduce our program overview today from our business team. We have 3 of our instructors from business administration. We have Pat McGee, Jean Rose, and Stacy McManus. And I also want to brag on them just a little bit. How we deliver instruction in higher ed has been changing over the past few years. You all are aware that there's been a movement towards online and hybrid delivery of instruction. And these ladies and our business administration faculty have really been leaders across our campus in helping us bring those instructional delivery methods forward. And so I just want to also recognize them. So I'll turn it over to them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. President Tolke, members of the board, please accept this presentation regarding the business administration degrees at Southeast Tech. We have 2 programs, state-approved programs. They are business administration and entrepreneurship. Under the business administration degree, we have 2 emphases, the emphasis in management and an emphasis in human resources. Basically what that means is students take curriculum in business administration, and then they have 6 electives as a part of that. They can choose electives in more management or HR, or they can choose electives from the rest of our business programs to fill that in. So it's a real versatile type of degree, and it's designed that way on purpose. Our entrepreneurship program is also a 2-year degree, and that's for students who come thinking, you know, I'd really like to own my own business someday. And that prepares a person for that. faculty, as Jim has mentioned, Pat, Stacy, and I, and collectively, we have over 52 years of service to Southeast Tech. And as a part of the requirements to be a faculty member, all of us also have to have industry experience, which is really what sets Southeast Tech apart. And we feel in our business area, especially, over some of the other type of institutions, the four-year institutions and the like, we have to know what's happening in the industry. And all three of us have those, as well as we continue to work in industry in different ways and different formats. And we currently have 270 students that three of us advise, and about half of them now are online students.
Get it right. So we think that in our department, we probably have the most diverse student group of any place on campus. It's interesting because we have traditional students, we have non-traditional students, we have online students, we have transfer students. Our programs are large enough that we can start people at any time. They can start in the fall, they can start in January, they can start in the summer, and in some cases, they can even start kind of like mid-semester with some of our accelerated classes that start in the middle. So that makes us also kind of a unique situation. Online, Jim alluded to our online programs. Everyone knows what an on-campus classroom environment is like, and ours are just pretty much like everybody else, except with the focus on technology and being more hands-on. But what's the deal with online? We find that there's a tremendous amount of confusion about online education, but a couple of things that we want to clarify that make our programs unique. One is it's not easier than being in the classroom. In fact, sometimes I think it can be more difficult because you have to have more ownership yourself. It's not independent study. All of our classes are set up so that they run very parallel to what a face-to-face classroom would be set up like. It's not a match for every student. If students aren't self-motivated and if they aren't self-disciplined working off campus, it's probably not going to be a great match for them. It's also not a great match for every teacher because it does involve a tremendous amount of pre-thinking and pre-planning, because once things start, it's a pretty rapid pace, so you can't be walking, you can't, like sometimes you can walk into the classroom and be like, I've taught this a million times, I know what to say, but in the online environment, you've got to have it ready to go in advance. So all of our business programs are available online, and we did start the business programs and the first online programs about 20 years ago now, which seems kind of crazy. And when we came to our administration and said we'd like to go online, one of the things that we did when we were given permission, we started with 2 classes, and then when they were successful, we started seeking out training. So we have really followed the best practices that are outlined by HLC and Sloan. Sloan is now called the online, what do they call it? The Online Consortium. They've kind of changed the name of that. But some of the keys for a good best practice in online are very specific and clear communication to the students, so they know exactly what is expected of them prior to the class and during the class. We also provide them voiced lectures that are exactly like the lectures that we present to our face-to-face classes, so they get the examples and the real explanation that goes along with everything that we're teaching them. We do have interactive classroom communication online. They communicate with each other through forum discussions, and our faculty are very involved in communicating with our students through emails and through phone calls if necessary, but we really are, we build a real bond with them. We also do as many activities as we can to maintain that technical function of our education. So our students do almost exactly the same thing, or as close to exactly the same thing as if they were in a traditional classroom. We have specific due dates. We have a great, stable LMS system that we use right now, and we've been through several over the years. Started out with a free one, by the way, from North Dakota State University for a year. But we've gone through several. We have a great LMS for a stable delivery platform. And our instructors supply support to our students when they're doing their work, which is basically at night and on the weekends. Yeah, we're going to give you just a really quick tour of an online class so that you can, we got to,
This is what a typical,
I got to turn the volume down here. Remember? You can. This is
online class might look like. This is the home page, and just to give you a little quick tour here, in the center of this class, you can see the book that we use, the contact information for the faculty, person, office hours that are posted, how to get a hold of them at any time. Over on the right-hand side are handouts. There's an area for announcements. On the left-hand column, there are a whole bunch of links that give them information. We talked about the need for organization. You'll see weekly agendas here for all 16 weeks of the semester. This is an example of what one of those might look like. It tells them every assignment that is due during week 13 and where to find it, how to submit it, and so on, so they know exactly what is expected of them. In the PowerPoint lecture area, you can see the chapter lectures, usually broken apart if it's a long chapter. And they use the same software that I'm using to present this to go through your chapter information in your lectures. We also have an area for discussion. Students will have an opportunity to interact with each other on topics that they're given throughout the semester, that they're required to read what each other thinks about things and give their comments and feedback on those. Course information, coursework is where they find most of their assignments. I'll show you what that looks like. All different variety of assignments, online, file uploads, but these are all out there for a semester's worth of work. There's a link to their syllabus, their attendance, their grade book, which I'm not going to show you because there's grades in it. But this particular grade book, we keep up to date at all times so that every time a student wants to know where they are at in a class, they can simply look. We have a link to computer resources if they're getting into trouble and have a question about that, and a link to an ancillary software that we use for this particular class. So that kind of gives you an idea what an online student sees.
Okay, so the business program started in 1991, I apologize, and we've had about 2,200 graduates so far. We average about 130 graduates each year. Employment percentages are really, really good. You can see business administration, we have 97% of our graduates that are employed within the first 6 months, and 100% of our entrepreneurship graduates as well. And our grads are staying local, which I think is one of our big initiatives with workforce development. So South Dakota, approximately 87% of our grads are staying right here at home. Iowa, about 6%, Minnesota, about 5%. So we're meeting that initiative. Oops, I'm the clicker now. All right. I'll talk a little bit about innovative leadership. The three of us, as well as our team, which includes like marketing, financial services, accounting down the hallway, we really pride ourselves on innovative leadership and trying to find ways to bring information to students outside of a traditional classroom. Sometimes these are ideas that we brainstorm on our own. Sometimes they're ideas that come to us from our advisory boards that we put together. We just hosted last week our second diversity fair. You may have caught that on the news. It was very, very successful. Had over 30 vendors, 5 different entertainment groups that came in. We've gotten incredible feedback from the community as well as our students. We host successful student seminars every year where we'll bring in different topics. Frequently, it's about professionalism in the workplace, successful communication, because those are topics we're hearing from employers that everyone is lacking in. We've done extensive Latino outreach with the Cinco de Mayo Fair. These two ladies visited the Our Lady of Guadalupe Church and provided donuts and coffee and talked about opportunities there. This is the group that kind of started the seed money or provided the seed money for the Southeast Tech Foundation through our value card. We had a $40,000 excess fundraising several years ago and started the seed money for that. Anything else I'm missing there, ladies? Recruitment activities, you'll notice that we did provide a handout of several recruitment activities that the business team has done above and beyond to kind of go out and help to increase our numbers and bring up that enrollment. So I encourage you to take a look at that as well. So what do our grads say about Southeast Tech? I'm not going to take the time to read through each of these because I know we're on a limited time here, but we did try to select a variety of students for you to take a peek at. The first one is Brian Slack. This would be a great example of a transfer student as well as a military student, and he had really good things to say about how he was treated at Southeast Tech when he was deployed. We have Elizabeth. She was one of our graduates that came to us from a small town. Her goal was to go back to that small town and get a job, and she's working at a local bank and very, very happy there. And the one that I would like to point out is an online student. Her name is Janine Michelot. And this just shows a really good example of how we work so hard to build a relationship with those online students. We find if you really don't work hard to build that relationship, it's hard to retain those students. It's easy for them to walk away. Janine says, Aristotle once said, educating the mind without educating the heart is not an education at all. The professors of the business program at Southeast Tech made this quote a reality for me. As a non-trad student and completing most of my degree online, I always felt amazing support by all of the professors. Southeast gave me the comfort of completing my degree and still allowing me the time to work and be with my family, but it was the true faith that the staff had in me that helped push me through the finish line. I am forever grateful for all that I have learned and all the things that I continue to carry in my heart each day in my career. And I think she is not an anomaly. We hear things like this frequently, which is very fulfilling.
That's why graduation's so fun. It's just this week. Where do our graduates work? And I'm not going to read these all to you either, but I think you'll see as you look at them that they work everywhere. They work, like Stacy said, a lot of them are staying local, but we also have some that when they move out of state, they have the qualifications that they need to get a job that they really like. So we had a selfie contest last year, and we reached out on Facebook to our students, and we said, would you please send us a selfie wherever you are? And so we had many students, so this is just a sampling of the students that sent us some selfies. I think we got like 30 or 40 selfies back from people, so that was kind of fun. It was fun to see them. So the answer is, and somebody just emailed me the other day and said, can you tell us where your graduates work? And we said, yes, everywhere. When I go to get my tire fixed at Graham Goodyear, oh, hey, there is one of my graduates who's the manager and gave me a 10% discount, which was great. And, you know, those types of things is just so much fun and so rewarding. Everywhere we go in Sioux Falls, we see graduates. And that can be, that again, it's just very, very rewarding for us. We also have some that are right around the corner. I think Missy works right here at IPC. Karen Winter works at our testing center. She's our graduate. And we have Robin also. And we have more at Southeast Tech.
So kind of to wind up our presentation, some of our students actually come full circle. And Mike Brusky, we have a short interview with him because I know it's a terribly unflattering starting picture. We tried to fix it, I'm sorry. But Mike is an example of somebody who's really gone the full gambit. He works for JLS Solutions. He's a territory manager, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his Southeast experience.
I had always planned on attending a four-year school and getting a bachelor's degree. I was enrolled and accepted at USD. I completely changed my mind and my thought process when there was a career fair at the Corn Palace in Mitchell. Southeast Tech had a couple of recruiters there, and as I walked around and checked out the different booths, already having it in my mind that I wanted to go to USD, I had talked to those recruiters, and they completely sold me on the fact of coming over and checking out Southeast Tech. So I came over with a couple friends of mine. All of us were already somewhat enrolled in different four-year schools when we graduated. We came over that day, listened to the different speakers and presenters talking about Southeast Tech and the different benefits, and I can tell you from the class in 1999 in Mitchell, you had gotten 21 students that I can think of from my school, and I know that at least 15 of them were already enrolled to go to four-year schools. So as I came to Southeast Tech, I was very excited. I'd always loved Sioux Falls, being close to this town, and I really enjoyed the experience I had at Southeast Tech. They taught me a lot of the hands-on things that I could learn when I got out into the workforce. As I was there, I was very prepared to go out and get a job as I graduated. When I graduated, the placement office had gotten me the job that I have to this day. I've worked at JCL Solutions, which is a company here in town, for 16 years, all based off of a job placement that I got through Southeast Tech. The things that have helped me be successful at this job were things that I learned as roots, as being a student at Southeast Tech. I learned how to be organized, how to manage my time, and how to really use the skills and tools towards a marketing degree that I had gotten at that school. Now being a graduate, I'm very excited to say that I'm very involved with Southeast Tech, as I was when I was a student. I'm now on the advisory board, and I was also part of the strategic planning committee. The strategic planning committee was coming up with a new vision and a way to show the future and the view of Southeast Tech. What is Southeast Tech and who do we want to be? Being on that advisory board, I have the joy and the luxury of being able to talk and give my perspective of different things that Southeast Tech should be teaching in their curriculum and letting them know all the different things that we look for as an employer when a student graduates. I'm very proud to be part of Southeast Tech, but one thing that I would like to change is the perception and the stigma of a two-year school. What is Southeast Tech? What do they have to offer? They have really offered me a lot as a business professional, and I'm very proud to say that I went to Southeast Tech.
So, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, great presentation. So if somebody wants to go on to their four-year degree at the university, how much of our classes are transferable, or how many will they accept? Most of them, or?
At this time, USF and Bellevue will accept all of them. We're in some discussions with SMSU out of Marshall, Minnesota, that they will also accept all of our credits, and that's going to be starting actually in about August. And we're not there yet with the university system, but that is a major goal for us.
Sure.
And we see that that could be happening.
Okay.
We have many of students that go on to USF, so.
I think at any given time, they'll tell you that we have between 80 to 100 students from Southeast that are getting degree completion or whatever at USF. They've been a partner with us for a very long time, and they see us as a feeder school, not as competition, which has been a really positive thing. When Dr. Benedetto came, that was kind of a change in thought process that's been really beneficial to our students.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's something we can work on with our own regental system that, you know.
I think President Griggs is hard at work on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're a state, and you'd like to think that everyone serves a mission. We have
Right.
two-year degrees, and for the student who wants to go on to a four-year degree, you have helped prepare them, and you know, I'm sure the content of your classes, it seems like it would be transferable. So keep working it. So
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Looking at your kind of online tour is interesting because it was like 7 years ago that I was in school and I had some online classes and it was not anywhere near what you guys were showing, and just thinking about being able to listen to somebody talk versus having to read and try to stay awake while trying to read and then try to take notes, and then these discussion, you know, I think it's amazing how far it's come, and I can see how students can be more successful because it is more engaging than just the reply to 3 people's posts on this thread, you know, things like that, and more interactive. So that's exciting, and I hope that that continues to engage people who maybe thought that getting their education was impossible, whether it's, you know, kids or family or work. If you have online, you have more flexibility to kind of get that work done. So it's exciting to see those changes. And I have a business degree too, and I'm a nurse, so I have 2 different degrees, and I can tell you that even as a nurse, the knowledge you get from a business degree, it's you have to have it. You know, you think about how you treat your patients differently. So whatever your career is, that's what my dad always told me too. If you don't know what to go to school for, get your business degree, because that is never wasted knowledge. It's balancing your checkbook, it's marketing yourself, it's, you know, coming up with great ideas. And so I think the things that you guys are doing are wonderful, and I thank you for the efforts and the relationships that you're building with our students too.
Thank you.
It is interesting that you said about being a nurse but in the business. On the one slide, we had noted that we're working on a 1-year management certificate, And that is something that has kind of come out of President Gregg's sector breakfast, that all industry types, you can be a nurse, you can be a phlebotomist, you can be an automotive mechanic, but if you ever want to move up into a management role, you need some management training. So we have got that to a point now where it's being moved on to be spread amongst the campus to kind of get the seal of approval from other industries, so that if you're out working in your trade that you've learned, you have an opportunity to pick up a management certificate, which can be a stackable degrees that would help them then to advance their career.
That would be great. I can think of lots of people in leadership positions at,
Yeah.
my
Right.
employer that would be, that I think, not that could use it, I'm saying this nicely, but that knowledge would be very beneficial,
Right.
even on a certificate level, just to have that understanding, and I think that would be very valuable. So when that's ready, get out and promote it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to acknowledge the entrepreneur program and business administration program?
I'll move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Rich is going to come forward and do the operating report, but I just wanted to thank them all again for being here. And I don't know if you looked at our campus notes last week, there was a little blurb in there about the diversity fair. And Jean and Pat were the visionaries, the leaders in that effort. And it has been so positively received. I think it's been, as we've had some conversations, there's certainly been some challenges this year, but there have been some really bright spots in terms of during the year. And I would say that's been one of the highlights. We'll have another with graduation on Friday night, but that was so exciting to be there. It kicked off with bagpipes and the national anthem and God Bless America. And it was just a wonderful event with wide variety of students with passports that they created to go around to the different tables, 32 different tables with different cultures and religions, and it was just a fantastic opportunity for our students, and they're the ones to thank for that, so I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, President Telke, members of the board. I just start off by saying classes start on Monday, and I'm sure we've got some people that can help with enrollment if anybody's interested. Just a couple brief updates. First thing is on the operating task, and just very quickly, we entered in the FY17 with a structural deficit, $638,000 roughly, with the directive to work to find those savings throughout the course of the fiscal year. In December, or through the end of December, in the February report, I updated you on how we were progressing towards achieving that goal. Another quarter is now passed, and I'm here to talk about where we're at through 9 months of the year and how we're progressing. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details because the principles are still the same. The savings that we're finding are relatively the same. A little bit of movement in specific categories as we start to look and get a little bit closer. And I'll say I'll be before you in September again to talk about how good my projections were for June, and I'm pretty sure I'll be pretty accurate in that September report. But I am very pleased to say that in December, when we talked about where we were at the end of the year, we were close. We were looking at having about $9,300 that we still needed to find. We're going to make that. We're a little bit ahead of it, and one of the categories I want to point out to you was there was some infrastructure carryover related to the new building. It was really an FY16 planned expenditure. The actual expenditure of it got pushed over into 17. So we're going to need to carry over some funds that were left over in 16 to fund those expenditures. That's kind of the balancing fulcrum as we go through the year. And right now, as we update where we're at with fees, where we're looking at in our expenditure stream and how things are moving, I think we're coming in a little bit more favorable. So I have purposefully set that number at 0, but also recognizing that we may be able to reduce that amount of that carryover amount or that fund balance that we're going to have to draw down. So I think it's just really a good news, a good thing to report on. The savings that we are realizing are continuing. The efforts that all of the staff are making in recognizing how we entered into this year and what our goal was to come out at the end of the year are being realized, and that's being continued. So we've got 58 days to go, roughly, to make it through the end of the year. But like I say, we're very much moving in the right direction, and it looks like there's going to be a very favorable outcome where we're going to meet or exceed where we needed to be on that task. So, again, very high level, but any specific questions as it relates to where we're at?
Well, good job by you and the team identifying those.
Well, it would have been nice to bring all 190 of them here, so I'm not sitting in an empty room. Usually I have the ability to clear it out, but it is the effort of the entire campus. It's keeping that message in front of them. A lot of the things that we've done through the development of the FY18 budget, the communications that are going out there in the forums, and just trying to get that out there. It has to be in front of people to make it real, and people have stepped up and done what we needed to do. So very pleased with that.
Great. May I have a motion to acknowledge the FY17 operating efficiency task update?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Third quarter finance.
The next report becomes kind of anticlimactic when I talk about the task and meeting that, but this is the quarterly financials as we look at our different funds that we have, the post-secondary fund and the various enterprise funds. We also take a look at our cash balances. As we look through these, as you see them, the post-secondary fund cash is about where we're at, and if you actually look at the last page of the report on the cash flow statements, when you look at the use of cash throughout the year, bottom half of that, we're on pace with what we thought we were going to do in terms of drawing down funds with the completion of the construction project. So again, we're on task with where we need to be in cash in the post-secondary fund. That flows from where we think we're going to wind up in terms of that operating deficiency and meeting that. So things look good in that sense. This is always a snapshot in time. The post-secondary vocational fund, or the food service fund, it shows a $364,000. If you remember, that was being seeded with money from the bookstore. So this is just a timing difference. We haven't actually transferred that cash over there yet. This report always lags a month in terms of the actual where we're progressing in terms of revenue and that. So we're going to make that transfer either in May or in June sometime. We'll just do it at the right time so we're not leaving the bookstore short in cash and buying inventory for the next cycle. But there'll be some of that money moving over. The child care fund, again, just from a cash basis, some of this is timing difference related to how we transfer monies down. When we get into actual fund balance reports or the actual reports of the various funds, the child care fund is looking very good, and I'll explain that in a little bit more detail, some of those highlights. And then the TSI fund, we've talked about that throughout the year, that we're going to close that out during this year. But if we go back into the post-secondary fund, kind of using the task as a basis or a starting point for that, everything is tracking where we think we need it to be. When we look at that state revenue category, that's one I want to point out. We haven't received our fourth quarter payment yet. That's coming, should be here today or tomorrow. That'll show up and won't even actually make it in the next report. It'll be the one that follows. But you're going to see that state revenue have a very favorable variance. And again, that's related to that bonding project and the state revenue that comes in associated with that new building construction. The tuition and fees, we'll start looking a little bit closer at how we're looking at this summer and where we think we're going to wind up. But again, we're probably down that 3 to 4.5%, and we'll see how that shakes out as we work towards the rest of the year. Have a little bit better measurement of it next month when we have those spring enrollment or summer enrollments, and we'll be through the drop add periods of it. Expenditure-wise, when you come down and look at this revenue over expenditures, right now it's showing a very positive number of 127 with revenues exceeding expenditures. A couple things to remember. The revenues on this report always lag a month. So while I'm showing you the report through March, it really reflects revenues through the end of February. The second thing we have to recognize is that we're still going to carry those payroll expenses and things into what's a slower revenue stream over the next 3 months. We've got that big state aid payment coming in. We've got some summer tuition and fees that'll be coming in. We've got some federal reimbursements coming in, but we'll see that drop down below. But that was planned. That was always set up that way to be a 1.2 million draw of existing reserves related to that building project. So again, I think we're going to end up where we need to be for the year. As we flip into the bookstore, we're on pace there and actually looking really good. When I look at the overall bottom lines, I'm just going to go right to the bottom of it here, and we look at our revenue over expenditures. Last year we didn't turn out that way. We actually showed a deficit in that particular fund, so we made some adjustments in our margins as we looked at it. In prices that we were selling our books, and made some adjustments there. So I think this is going to turn out in the end in a positive situation. Not trying to make a ton of money on it, but it's not a situation where we want to lose money. The other thing that influences this report, and you have to be aware of, is that when you get in those supplies and materials categories, what these reports reflect is just expenditures we've made through the year. So we'll make some adjustments at year end for inventory balances, and that supplies and material account gets adjusted to reflect what's happened with our inventory, either going up or down. So those will be coming forward. But again, overall, I think we're gonna end up in a positive situation. Food service fund. This was I wish I had a crystal ball. It's always an unknown when you start a new venture and a new operation. You'd like to say we were hopeful that we were going to make money in this. I don't know that we are at the end of the year. We had some delays, and I'm not trying to blame that, but the facility didn't open on time. We didn't get that opportunity to bring students in right from August, September, October. We actually didn't open the facility until the end of October. We think that had some impact on us. The other thing is just getting that word out and getting established in what happens with a startup. One comment I want to make, and one thing that I think we think we're ahead of pace. When we look at that supplies and materials, and we've done just a little ciphering in the air on this thing. Again, there's those cost of goods sold elements in there. We did take an inventory at the end of the March, so we kind of know where we were at. But starting out a new operation, you don't know what's going to work. You don't know what's not going to work. You anticipate you're going to have a little higher cost of goods sold, going to have a little bit of waste. We've done some conversations with people in the industry, and they've kind of talked about after the first year of operation, we're kind of looking at that cost of goods sold number at 50%, which is probably higher than what it should be in an ongoing operation, but we're on pace to do that with only 6 months of operation. So I'm pleased at that part of it with the staff. They've done good at trying to manage their labor costs and control that, and also try to control their food waste as they get the operation up and running. We're also making some changes going into next year that I think we're going to have a positive impact on this bottom line. We're looking at taking over the vending operation on campus ourselves. There's quite a bit of margin there, and we think there's some profit we're leaving on the table with our current arrangement. These folks will have the resources, keeps the staff engaged throughout the year, and so we're looking at it as a way to kind of contribute to the bottom line too. So I'm going to ask for some patience on this. We'll give it a year and we'll see how we progress going into next year. We've also got some initiatives we're going to bring forward in terms of you've probably seen it if any of you have had kids on a college campus, a one-card system where parents can go in and load dollars on a card. It means they have a mechanism to pay for those things to be usable in the food service in the bookstore, also looking at it in the vending machine. So we're creating a mechanism trying to provide different alternatives and different options. Doing a lot of catering out there. Campus has been very supportive and looking at us for catering events and using that. Speaking to the Diversity Affair, I know they had an arrangement with them as well. They catered the picnic, which served 6,000 or over 1,000 meals related to the spring picnic. So catering business is actually doing a little bit better than we anticipated. So hopefully that flows into the bottom line as we continue forward. Child care fund, what I want to talk about in that very briefly. As you look down at the bottom line, you see a $23,000 deficit. But again, remember, the revenue is delayed by a month on this, so our March revenue that would be reported if we were same on this is about $23,000. So I think Tracy and the staff on the Child Care Center have really embraced the adjustments that needed to be made in terms of the staffing and getting that right mix of full-time, part-time, still being able to meet the needs of students, recognizing what these guys are doing with online and how it's killing my child care business, but that's part of it. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But it's an option for students, and I mean, it reduces their overall cost of attendance if they're not having to fund childcare. So these guys have made the adjustments by expanding who is eligible to use the services, and as I stand here today before you, I think we're heading in the right direction with that as well for this year. So that's a very quick and high-level review of the financial statements. I can still talk for 13 minutes if you'd like, but any questions related to the quarterly financials?
Anybody have any questions?
Oh, well done. I mean, you know, from where we started to where we are now, I think, you know, the thing I always appreciate, Rich, is we always know where we're at, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean we've always liked the answer, but we always know where we're at, so we can make changes and work the task and everything to get us to the point where now we're moving into next year in good shape. So I appreciate all your endless hours that you put into this. I know you wear it on your sleeve, and you know, you do a great job at keeping us informed. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's an ongoing concern, so you have to always be looking at it and looking out ahead. So it's while we kind of get to reset at the end of the fiscal year and go into the next year with a new slate, what we do today carries over into the next year in the future. So difficult decisions made during the last year, even into this current budget cycle as we go into FY18, but they're the right things to do. It's what we need to do, and we'll just continue to do that. And I'm not doing it alone, so thank you.
You're doing a great job. Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the report on Southeast Tech's FY17 third quarter financials.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.